Alright, so for the first part of this tutorial, we're going to be taking this Kingdom Hearts Ultimania artwork of Sora, Donald, Goofy, sitting on this throne inspired by various elements of the Kingdom Hearts, and blocking out its basic shapes to create a reference image to import into Maya and create a fairly accurate 3D model of this throne. And what we're basically going to be doing is blocking out with very basic shapes like rectangles, triangles, circles, anything like that, and blocking out the major parts of this chair, or throne, whatever you want to call it. And I know right now it might be hard to focus because you've got Sora sitting on it, Donald and Goofy on the side. But one way you can look at it is to use nothing but straight lines, try to and create some limits for some of these things. Like the arm of the throne chair could be described as so. All the action is going to take place within the bounds of these guidelines. So you'll notice that it's got a slight curvature to it where the base is pretty square and sharp, but nothing exceeds these guidelines. So you can go about creating your own reference image in various ways. You can set up guidelines like this in Photoshop and create a basic rectangle. Let's maybe switch that. And just use those, like I meant, as guidelines. And that right there is a representation of the left or right arm of the throne. So another way we can do, which is what I'm going to show you, is to print it out and transfer it onto some marker paper and use, that's not very good, you can't really see that. Select that color and darken it all over the fuzziness. Just a little bit. So you can that's fine for now. So you can basically see how this image translates over to this image. Made rectangles for the arms of the chair, drew cross lines for the cushion, cross lines for the base. I'll just call it the base. For the back, what I did was I started at this contact point right here and drew a line connecting to the outermost, creating a tangent basically, outermost part of the back. And that basically sets my limit because it touches right here, that's one limit, and right about here is another tangent, and all of the curvature of it, oops, sorry, this is acting up. All of the curvature of this is going to take place within the bounds of these two lines. So those are the limits for the back. For the heart, oops, sorry. For the heart, for right now, I made this diamond shape. I drew a line across the top where the outer limit is, two lines. I started at the base here and drew a line going through the outermost tangent on both sides, and basically just kind of, guessed on these 2 points, and drew a midline down this part that'll be used later on to align the image on the Y/Z axis of Maya, so that you get a perfectly mirrored model. So once you block it out, go and further refine it. And since we're going to be creating a perfectly symmetrical object, I decided to just only really sketch up half of it and perform the same thing in Photoshop that I'm going to do in Maya, and that's basically copy this half of it, duplicate it, mirror it, and then just shift it along and create a mirror image. but you'll notice that it's fairly accurate. The slight curvature of the cushion. I extended the base a little bit. That way, it's not just 100% rectangular on the bottom. Rounded edges. You can't really see this part because of Sora's elbow and Donald's tail, so I just decided to go ahead and use my imagination. And I drew this crown symbol because that's what I'm going to incorporate. I'm taking out the Mickey Mouse head because it's extremely flamboyantly Disney Kingdom Hearts, and I kind of want it to be slightly neutral. I don't want it to seem like it's Mickey Mouse's throne or anybody else's, so I'm throwing this crown symbol on there because obviously who sits on a throne, king or queen. And I'm going to have it rest on these two, I don't know what you want to call them, these two curves right here, because as you can tell by this slight shading that this line and this line aren't perfectly aligned. This one is somewhat the back of the seat, and this one is the front that the cushion is framed into. So I decided to add this crown and have it sitting on there rather than trying to make it twist or weave or, you know, do something too complicated in 3D space. So I did that, went into Photoshop, mirrored it, darkened it a little bit, and this is basically the end result that I'm going to import into Maya. I still got that slight center line somewhere. It can be absolutely anywhere. It can be down here, in the middle, it could be at the top, or even out here, as long as it's in the middle of the image so you can align it with the y-axis. And I decided to go ahead and add these two extra lines right here so that when you go into Maya and you actually make the model, you have a distinct front cushion and a back, which I might even just, you know, not even model this part right here, just make it solid 100%, because I also have this open space here, here, and in here to create the illusion of the heart. So for this first part, that's basically it. I'm going to later import this into Maya and use pretty basic primitives for these aspects, use control vertice curves to create these aspects of the throne, duplicate them, bring them back, and use a combination of loft to fill in the spaces facing the camera, and, planar to fill in these spaces, and loft to give it depth, and this crown would be a pretty basic polygonal primitive. So for the purposes of this demo, that's it. Just if you'd like clarification on how I did this, how I transferred it to marker paper, I'd be glad to create a separate tutorial to show that, actually show me doing that. But for now, that's it.